Good evening. Global pop superstar Katy Perry is tonight at the centre of a police investigation over bombshell claims of sexual abuse inside a Melbourne nightclub.
Reaction videos appear almost immediately. News websites rush to publish updates. Comment sections fill with speculation. Before long, public opinion begins forming based on incomplete information. By the time verified details emerge, many people have already decided what they believe. That creates a serious challenge not only for celebrities, but also for audiences. How do you determine what's true? How do you separate evidence from rumor? How do you avoid being influenced by viral content designed primarily to attract attention? These questions are especially important when discussions involve allegations of misconduct or criminal behavior. Words like investigation, arrest, and charges carry enormous weight. They can dramatically affect public perception, even when official information remains limited. Throughout history, countless public figures have discovered that the mere suggestion of wrongdoing can create lasting damage to their reputation. Sometimes those suspicions prove justified. Sometimes they do not. The difficulty is that most people encounter the headline long before they encounter the facts. Katy Perry now finds herself navigating exactly that kind of environment. Every statement is analyzed. Every silence is interpreted. Every public appearance generates new speculation. Fans search for clues in social media posts. Commentators dissect interviews. Entertainment websites publish endless theories about what might happen next. The level of attention has become impossible to ignore. What makes the situation particularly fascinating is that much of the discussion extends beyond any single allegation or controversy. Instead, it reflects a broader debate about celebrity accountability, media influence, and the power of public opinion. In many ways, the story has become larger than Katy Perry herself. It has become a case study in how modern scandals develop. Years ago, celebrities primarily worried about traditional media coverage. Today, they must navigate an ecosystem where millions of individuals contribute to conversations simultaneously. Information spreads faster. Rumors spread faster. Reputations rise and fall faster. And once a controversy gains momentum, controlling the narrative becomes extraordinarily difficult. As public interest continues growing, one thing is becoming increasingly clear. The discussion surrounding Katy Perry is no longer just about music. It's about credibility. It's about perception. And it's about whether one of pop culture's most recognizable figures can weather yet another storm in an era where public opinion has never been more powerful. The questions continue to multiply. Will new information emerge? Will the controversy fade away? Or will this become one of the defining challenges of her career? Right now, nobody knows for certain. But one thing is clear. The story is only beginning. Reaction videos appear almost immediately. News website things aren't looking good for Katy Perry arrest. Part 2. As the controversy continued spreading across the internet, something interesting began to happen. The conversation stopped being about a single headline and started becoming a referendum on Katy Perry's entire career. Fans, critics, entertainment journalists, and social media commentators began revisiting moments from the past, searching for clues that might support their own conclusions. This is often how celebrity scandals evolve. The public rarely examines one event in isolation. Instead, people start looking backward. Old interviews resurface. Archive videos are shared. Forgotten articles suddenly become relevant again. Events that once received little attention are reinterpreted through the lens of current controversies. For Katy Perry, this process created a difficult situation. Over nearly 2 decades in the spotlight, she has participated in thousands of interviews, hundreds of public appearances, countless television programs, and numerous award shows. Like any celebrity with a long career, not every moment aged perfectly. Some clips that seemed harmless years ago now appear awkward to modern audiences. Others have become the subject of intense online debate. One of the biggest challenges facing celebrities today is that cultural standards evolve constantly. Comments that generated laughter 10 years ago may generate criticism today. Television moments once viewed as entertaining can later be criticized as inappropriate. Behavior previously dismissed as harmless can be re-examined from an entirely different perspective. This doesn't automatically mean every criticism is justified, But it does mean public figures are increasingly judged according to contemporary expectations rather than the standards that existed when events originally occurred. As these discussions intensified, many observers noticed a familiar pattern emerging. The internet had divided into competing camps. One group believed Katy Perry was being unfairly targeted. They argued that critics were selectively choosing incidents to create a negative narrative. According to this perspective, many stories circulating online lacked context and were being amplified primarily because controversy attracts attention. Another group viewed the situation differently. They argued that repeated criticism from different sources deserved serious consideration. In their view, dismissing every allegation or uncomfortable story simply because it involved a famous person would be irresponsible. The debate quickly became emotional. Supporters accused critics of conducting a public trial without sufficient evidence. Critics accused supporters of ignoring uncomfortable questions. Meanwhile, the actual facts often became lost beneath layers of opinion and speculation. This highlights one of the biggest problems with modern celebrity controversies. Most people do not encounter information directly. Instead, they encounter interpretations. A news article summarizes an event. A social media post summarizes the article. A video creator summarizes the post. Then thousands of commenters summarize the video. By the time information reaches a wide audience, it may have passed through several layers of interpretation. Each layer introduces opportunities for misunderstanding, exaggeration, or bias. That reality makes it increasingly difficult to determine what actually happened. Yet despite these challenges, public interest continued growing. Entertainment media recognize that stories involving major celebrities generate enormous traffic. Every new development became a headline. Every statement attracted attention. Even a lack of new information became a story in itself. The cycle became self-sustaining. People searched for updates because the story was trending. The story trended because people searched for updates. As a result, public curiosity continued increasing. At the center of it all was Katy Perry, a performer who had spent years carefully building one of the most successful brands in modern pop music. What many younger fans may not realize is just how dominant she once was. During her peak years, Katy Perry wasn't merely successful. She was one of the defining artists of an entire generation. Her songs were everywhere. Her music videos broke records. Her concerts attracted massive audiences around the globe. For a period of time, she seemed virtually unstoppable. That level of success creates enormous opportunities, but it also creates enormous expectations. The higher a celebrity rises, the more intensely every setback is examined. Beginning, a disappointing album becomes front-page news. A controversial interview becomes a trending topic. A public mistake becomes an international discussion. Ordinary people make mistakes every day without attracting attention. Celebrities make mistakes in front of millions. That difference changes everything. Some entertainment analysts argue that fame itself can become a trap. Once an artist reaches a certain level of success, maintaining that position becomes almost impossible. Expectations grow so high that even good performances may be viewed as disappointments compared to earlier achievements. Katy Perry has experienced that phenomenon firsthand. While she remains one of the most recognizable names in entertainment, many discussions surrounding her recent career have focused less on current accomplishments and more on comparisons to her past success. Those comparisons can be brutal. Audiences often remember peak moments more vividly than steady achievements. As a result, celebrities are frequently measured against the best version of themselves rather than against their competitors. When controversies emerge, that pressure intensifies. Suddenly, every challenge becomes evidence of decline. Every criticism becomes part of a larger narrative. Every setback appears connected to every other setback. Whether those connections actually exist becomes almost irrelevant because public perception begins shaping reality. This is why reputation management has become such an important part of modern celebrity culture. Public figures spend enormous amounts of time and resources trying to protect their image. They hire publicists, legal advisors, media consultants, and communication specialists. Entire teams work behind the scenes to help navigate difficult situations. Even then, success is never guaranteed. The internet has made controlling narratives significantly harder than it once was. A carefully prepared statement can be overshadowed by a viral post. An official response can generate more questions than answers. Attempts to correct misinformation may unintentionally draw even more attention to it. In many ways, celebrities are operating in an environment where traditional rules no longer apply. For Katy Perry, that reality creates a difficult balancing act. Respond too aggressively, and critics may accuse her of trying to silence discussion. Remain silent, and speculation may continue growing. Issue a brief statement, and audiences demand more details. Provide extensive explanations, and every word faces scrutiny. There are no easy solutions. As the controversy continued unfolding, another question emerged. How much of the public reaction was actually about the specific allegations being discussed, and how much reflected broader frustration with celebrity culture itself? This question is rarely asked, but it matters. In recent years, public trust in celebrities has declined significantly. Many audiences have become more skeptical of wealth, privilege, and carefully managed public images. As a result, controversies involving famous individuals often trigger reactions that extend far beyond the immediate facts of the case. People project larger concerns onto individual stories. Discussions about one celebrity become discussions about power. Conversations about one incident become conversations about accountability. Debates about one allegation become debates about society itself. Katy Perry's situation appears to be following a similar pattern. The longer the story remains in public view, the more it evolves beyond any single claim or controversy. Instead, it becomes part of a much larger conversation about fame, influence, responsibility, and truth. For audiences trying to understand what's happening, this creates a challenge. The loudest voices are not always the most accurate. The most confident opinions are not always the most informed. And the most dramatic headlines are not always the most reliable. That is why patience remains important. Serious claims deserve serious examination. Evidence matters. Context matters. Facts matter. Without those elements, discussions risk becoming exercises in speculation rather than efforts to understand reality. As the public waits for greater clarity, one thing is undeniable. The pressure surrounding Katy Perry continues to grow. Questions remain unanswered. Opinions remain divided. And the spotlight remains fixed firmly on one of pop music's most recognizable stars. Whether this chapter ultimately becomes a temporary controversy or a major turning point in her career remains uncertain. But if history has taught us anything, it is that the next development could change everything. And in today's media environment, that development could arrive at any moment that rush to publish updates. Comment sections fill with speculation. Before long, public opinion begins forming based on incomplete information. By the time verified details emerge, many people have already decided what they believe. That creates a serious challenge not only for celebrities, but also for audiences. How do you determine what's true? How do you separate evidence from rumor? How do you avoid being influenced by viral content designed primarily to attract attention? These questions are especially important when discussions involve allegations of misconduct or criminal behavior. Words like investigation, arrest, and charges carry enormous weight. They can dramatically affect public perception, even when official information remains limited. Throughout history, countless public figures have discovered that the mere suggestion of wrongdoing can create lasting damage to their reputation. Sometimes those suspicions prove justified. Sometimes they do not. The difficulty is that most people encounter the headline long before they encounter the facts. Katy Perry now finds herself navigating exactly that kind of environment. Every statement is analyzed. Every silence is interpreted. Every public appearance generates new speculation. Fans search for clues in social media posts. Commentators dissect interviews. Entertainment websites publish endless theories about what might happen next. The level of attention has become impossible to ignore. What makes the situation particularly fascinating is that much of the discussion extends beyond any single allegation or controversy. Instead, it reflects a broader debate about celebrity accountability, media influence, and the power of public opinion. In many ways, the story has become larger than Katy Perry herself. It has become a case study in how modern scandals develop. Years ago, celebrities primarily worried about traditional media coverage. Today, They must navigate an ecosystem where millions of individuals contribute to the conversation simultaneously. Information spreads faster. Rumors spread faster. Reputations rise and fall faster. And once a controversy gains momentum, controlling the narrative becomes extraordinarily difficult. As public interest continues growing, one thing is becoming increasingly clear. The discussion surrounding Katy Perry is no longer just about music. It's about credibility. It's about perception. And it's about whether one of pop culture's most recognizable figures can weather yet another storm in an era where public opinion has never been more powerful. The questions continue to multiply. Will new information emerge? Will the controversy fade away? Or will this become one of the defining challenges of her career? Right now, nobody knows for certain. But one thing is clear. The story is only. Things aren't looking good for Katy Perry arrest. Part 3. As public debate intensified, the biggest question remained the simplest one. What happens next? For all the speculation, commentary, and viral discussion surrounding Katy Perry, the reality is that public controversies eventually reach a crossroads. Some collapse because evidence never materializes. Others grow because new information emerges. A few transform into lengthy legal battles that continue for years. At this stage, uncertainty remains a defining feature of the story. That uncertainty frustrates many people. Fans want definitive answers. Critics want accountability. Media organizations want updates. Social media users want conclusions. But real-world situations rarely move at the speed of the internet. Investigations, legal reviews, and fact-finding processes take time. Witnesses must be interviewed. Claims must be examined. Evidence must be evaluated. Contradictions must be explored. What appears obvious online often becomes far more complicated when examined through official channels. This is why experienced legal experts frequently caution against rushing to judgment. Public opinion can be powerful, but it is not evidence. Trending topics are not verdicts, and viral posts are not investigations. Yet in today's digital landscape, those distinctions often become blurred. The pressure on public figures during these moments can be enormous. Every appearance becomes newsworthy. Every social media post is analyzed. Every public statement is scrutinized for hidden meanings. Even silence can become a source of speculation. Katy Perry now finds herself operating under that level of attention. For someone who has spent much of her adult life in the spotlight, media scrutiny is nothing new. But controversy creates a different kind of attention. Instead of focusing on music, performances, or creative projects, the public becomes focused on character, credibility, and reputation. That shift can be difficult for any celebrity. A career that took decades to build can face significant challenges within a matter of weeks. History offers many examples. Some stars successfully weather controversies and eventually regain public trust. Others discover that public perception has changed permanently. In many cases, the outcome depends on factors that are impossible to predict in advance. New evidence can emerge. Witnesses can come forward. Stories can be confirmed. Stories can be disproven. Public opinion can shift dramatically in either direction. This unpredictability is one reason why major controversies often attract such intense attention. People are naturally drawn to unresolved stories. They want to know how events will unfold. They want to understand who is telling the truth. They want certainty in situations where certainty may not yet exist. For the entertainment industry, these moments also create significant challenges. Record labels, business partners, sponsors, and media organizations all monitor public controversies carefully. Their decisions are often influenced not only by facts, but also by public perception. As a result, even unproven allegations can have real-world consequences. Reputational damage can affect business relationships. Negative publicity can influence future opportunities. Public controversy can overshadow professional achievements. This is particularly significant for artists whose careers depend heavily on public support. Music, unlike many industries, relies on emotional connections. Fans choose to invest their time, money, and attention in artists they admire. And when controversies arise, those relationships can become strained. Some fans remain loyal regardless of criticism. Others distance themselves immediately. Many adopt a wait-and-see approach. The result is often a divided audience struggling to determine how to respond. In Katy Perry's case, that division is clearly visible. Supporters argue that conclusions should not be drawn without verified evidence. They emphasize the importance of fairness and due process. They point out that rumors have damaged many public figures throughout history and caution against assuming guilt based on social media discussions. Critics, meanwhile, argue that public scrutiny serves an important purpose. They believe that serious concerns deserve attention and that influential individuals should not be shielded from difficult questions. Both perspectives reflect broader debates taking place throughout society. How should allegations be evaluated? What standards of evidence should apply in the court of public opinion? How can accountability and fairness coexist? These questions extend far beyond any single celebrity. They represent some of the most challenging issues of the digital age. What makes the current situation especially interesting is that it highlights the growing gap between online discourse and official processes. Social media conversations operate at incredible speed. Official investigations move much more slowly. The result is a vacuum, and wherever a vacuum exists, speculation tends to flourish. People fill gaps in knowledge with theories. Commentators fill gaps with predictions. Online communities fill gaps with assumptions. Before long, narratives emerge that may have little connection to verifiable facts. This is why media literacy has become increasingly important. Audiences today face an unprecedented volume of information. Headlines compete for attention. Videos compete for views. Posts compete for engagement. Not all sources maintain the same standard of accuracy. Learning to evaluate information critically has become an essential skill. Questions matter. Who is reporting the story? What evidence is being presented? Have claims been independently verified? Are multiple credible sources reporting the same information? These questions help separate reliable information from speculation. Without them, it becomes easy to mistake popularity for truth. As discussions continue, another reality becomes apparent. Regardless of how this story ultimately ends, it will likely become part of Katy Perry's public legacy. Celebrity reputations are shaped by both achievements and controversies. Major accomplishments remain important, but so do the challenges and scandals that occur along the way. Public memory often preserves both. Years from now, people may remember the music, the records, and the performances. They may also remember the controversies, the debates, and the questions that surrounded them. That is the nature of modern fame. Success brings visibility. Visibility brings scrutiny. Scrutiny brings risk. Every major public figure eventually confronts this reality. For now, the future remains uncertain. There may be significant developments ahead. There may be none at all. The controversy could escalate dramatically. It could fade from public attention. It could transform into something entirely different from what observers currently expect. No one knows. What we do know is that the story continues to attract enormous attention. Millions of people remain interested in what happens next. Journalists continue monitoring developments. Fans continue searching for answers. Critics continue raising questions. And at the center of it all stands Katy Perry, one of the most recognizable entertainers of her generation, facing a level of scrutiny that few public figures ever experience. The coming weeks and months may provide greater clarity, or they may create even more questions. Until then, perhaps the most responsible approach